All right, so I got Lauren Elaine back, and we're gonna dig into topic number two today. So last week we kind of talked about Ramit and his financial kind of blueprint and path to wealth. And today I know Ramit is very big on kind of renting, having lifestyle, not the traditional American dream that a lot of us were raised to believe. So welcome back, Lauren, and kind of give me your thoughts on this mindset of what the American dream is, maybe, and renting versus buying.
I think, I mean, I love Remy, and I think when he talks about renting, as we know, being in Hawaii, being in California, being in some of these more expensive states, there is a barrier to entry on buying a place, and renting for a lot of people is the only option. But even if you could buy it, the houses are so expensive that it would tie up all your capital and create a lot of stress. And so I think if you're in that situation, you should definitely rent. But I think if you have an opportunity to purchase a house and you can house hack or build an ADU or something like that, then you can make it work, which is what I did in Maui. So, I mean, prices have gone up even since then. So I don't know if I was just starting out now that I would even be able to do that. But I bought a property, fixed it up, and then rented out the main house and built an ADU in the back. So that worked because I wasn't paying for the entire mortgage. But if you don't have the opportunity, you do have to pay for it, then it can really tie up your capital and create a lot of stress.
But that wasn't your initial plan going into it, right? You bought a primary, but you didn't have any plans to house hack, right?
No, no, but I also didn't have like an investor's mindset at all at that time either. It was just like, the next step that you do, you're paying rent and you just think like, I should just buy a house. I'm throwing this money away in rent. Why don't I just buy a house? But what I learned in ownership is there are a lot of costs, and Ramit talks about this. Like if you're a renter, you know the maximum amount that it's going to cost. If you're a homeowner, it's the minimum amount that it's going to cost. And so you have to be careful if you're buying a house and that mortgage is at the top limit of your budget, then there could be a lot of hidden costs on top of that.
I love that you bring that up. That's something that I always bring up, and people aren't aware of that, right? Like when you're renting, that's pretty much the maximum you're gonna pay every month for your living expenses. Where, yeah, when you buy a home, that's kind of the minimum amount you're gonna pay because you don't know what other expenses might come up, repairs, and it's always ongoing. And I think for me, I mean, I used like you touched on, right? Buying a home is more of a lifestyle type of investment, and it does have a lot of benefits. And I think for some, that's their goal, right? They're not trying to retire early. They don't their plan is to work 40 years or whatnot. So buying a home does have make a lot of sense for them. But if you are trying to get ahead and build wealth and maybe you want this financial freedom, I think you really have to, like you're saying, look at the opportunity cost and weighing it. And sometimes renting does make a lot more sense. But I think the important thing is that money that you could be saving or that capital, like you're saying, that you're not putting into this in a primary residence has to be used for like investment purposes. And you can still buy real estate. It may not be your primary residence, but it's real estate that's cash flowing and still building equity. So I think that's the important thing is where that money is going to.
Yeah. And another strategy that I like if somebody does really want to buy a primary residence is to use the 121, Section 121 exchange. So, you buy the house, you live in it for 2 years, and then you move into a new house and you rent that house out for 3 years. And then you sell that house and you don't have to pay capital gains. And then by the time you've lived in this new house, you've lived there for at least 2 years, then you move out of that house, get another one, rent that house out and rent it out for 3 years, and then you sell it, no capital gains. So if you can do that strategy, but you are moving every 2 years and not everybody wants to do that. But to me, that is one way to have like a primary residence, but also be doing it in an investor mindset and be taking advantage of building the equity.
Great point. Yeah, I think that's part of it is we've been so well, you're a lot younger than me, so I don't know if it's this, but I was sold that forever home, right? When I was younger, it's like, my parents bought a home and they're still living in this, what, been over 50 years, right? So I think that was what I saw. And a lot of people, when they are buying their first home, they're trying to get their forever home right off the bat. And like you're
Mhm.
touching on, right? It's important to maybe just get your foot in the door, get this first property. It may not be like the forever home, but it's a stepping stone to, like you're saying, you live in it for 2 years, then you're going to rent it out, not pay not pay the taxes at the time. And then that's your way to build your wealth. But I think that American dream, or staying in one place for 40 years or having this forever home is really kind of what can hold people back a lot of times.
Yeah, I think even just that mindset of a forever home, especially if you're just getting started, if it's your first home, I've learned so much about what I even want in a home by owning multiple properties. The first place and the things that I thought that I wanted are not at all the things that I want in a home now. And you just learn that through ownership and through living in a space. So if you go into it with the mindset of this is going to be my forever home, you create this emotional attachment, and emotional attachment to something does not make good financial decisions. So if we can create a little separation there and say this is a great starter home, then you may be okay with not putting in the most expensive finishes, or you may be okay with a little bit of a less nice bathroom renovation but still very modern. So if you can, like, go into it with the mindset of like this is a great starter home and I'm going to learn what I like and maybe I'll move somewhere else, then it can help with that like emotional attachment, because I think that is a big part of what I see when people don't want to sell their house. It's because they're like, well, I moved in with this idea that this was going to be where I was going to raise my kids, and we get attached to this idea even though in reality there's a lot of things about the home that they don't really like and they would be happier in a different space. So yeah, just changing that mindset of even having a forever home, I think, can be a good way to get when you get started.
Yeah, I think even just having a long-term vision, and I don't know if that was your plan when you bought your primary residence initially. Did you have a vision that you could build on it or expand at some point? Because that's the mistake I made when I bought my home. I didn't really, yeah, it was a nice home, but I didn't think about cost of if I had to build, or I'm going to build an ADU, and there's a HOA basically. So there's all these obstacles in front of me now. But for you, did you have this somewhat vision, or you just kind of lucked out in a sense?
It was definitely a part of the appeal of the property. It's a half an acre, which is a lot of land in on Maui, and it's in a neighborhood, so it's the biggest kind of plot in that neighborhood. So I was like, oh wow, we could definitely put something. But as you said, I didn't know certain things that we ended up having to put in another septic system because the septic's not big enough. There's a lot of building codes. There was water usage issues with adding, another bedroom, another bathroom, because I was initially thinking I'll build a second house, and that wasn't possible. And so I went into it thinking this, and you just don't know until you own the property and you go down to the building department and you talk to them about what you can do with this property. So yeah, I went into it with big dreams and realized very quickly that it wasn't going to be feasible to do what I wanted to do.
I'm not sure if you follow Derek Sherrill. He's a resigned firefighter in like California, but his specialty is like ADU units. And that's one thing he said. He touched on you know, one of the easiest ways to do it is to find a big home that has maybe 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and it has a big master bedroom where you can kind of convert into its own like granny suite or standalone unit. Because if it already has the plumbing, that's one of the hardest things to set up. So the electrical, you can get all that done later. But if it has the master bathroom, or the big bathroom, then the plumbing's already set up, and that's one way to kind of keep your costs down and make it a lot easier to make this a separate unit. So that's his kind of strategy. So
Yeah. And with the building department too, it already exists. You're not creating a whole new structure. And so they're going to approve it way more quickly than if you're trying to add a whole new unit.
yeah. Yeah. So for you, now I guess the tough question is, would you buy a primary residence again first if you could do it all over?
I would if there was an opportunity to house hack or I could create, do what your friend did and say, okay, I'm going to take the master suite and turn it into my own space, and then I'll rent out the rest of the house to people if you're going to do it that way. But if you live, and it also depends on where you live as well. If you're in a place where the housing prices are low and you can afford to do that without it tying up all your capital, then I would consider it. Do you have kids? It might be an easier strategy to live in the house for 2 years and move, and take advantage of the equity growth that way if you have kids and you need that space. But if you are in a high cost area, I probably would not. No.
Yeah, I think I would have done a lot of things different. And, a lot of it, like you're saying, a high cost area. Like, for example, the area that I live in currently, it's a lot cheaper to rent in this neighborhood than to buy a home. And,
Mhm.
that's something else, like you're talking about, if you have kids, families, they're looking to maybe live in certain areas, either close to certain schools or, maybe activities. So sometimes it makes more sense to rent because you can put yourself in these specific areas that you want to be in, and it might be a lot cheaper. And but I always go back to the biggest thing is that money that you are saving by renting, you know, hopefully you can be using it to invest in other assets that can build your wealth. And I think that's the thing that I probably made a mistake too. I thought like, oh, I got my primary residence, and now everything else is disposable income and just buying toys and things
Mhm.
that depreciate in value. So that was my big mistake.
Yeah, but you have several rentals now, so you learn from it, and it didn't ever keep you from investing.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I was on a call with some other investors last night, and some of them don't have properties yet, and it's just that getting that first one, that hurdle, and they think they have to know all the answers right in the beginning, and everyone's telling them, hey, you got to just get started, and
Yeah.
you're gonna make mistakes. We've all made mistakes, and we've all wished we could do things a little bit different, but you keep going at it, and you learn as you go.
Yeah, it is so funny how everyone says just get started, but I feel so much for those beginning investors because you're just like, I want to get started, but how? How do I do it? It's that big how question that seems so daunting. Like, how do I do it? How do I know if the property is the right property on my first one? Like, how do I, you know, find these properties? Like, what is the best investment strategy? When you haven't done it, you haven't found what's right for you. There's so many options on how you can be an investor. And so, yeah, I feel for those people that are just getting started because I truly believe it is the hardest step. Once you've taken that leap, it becomes so much easier to the second, third, fourth property becomes so much easier. So yeah, it's a tough place to be in, but if they're on an investor call with you, then they're in a good spot.
I was just gonna say that, people can reach out to you, pick your brain and ask you questions about what you're doing and maybe how you got started and how you overcame these obstacles. Because like you said, it is challenging and it's just being around the right people that are gonna push you and hold you accountable and aren't afraid to talk about their mistakes. I think that's what kind of bothers me a little bit is a lot of times those the people out there that only talk about the good times and the positive things that are going on and they're not really showing like the mistakes they've made and the struggles that they have. And I think that's super important. So where can people find you or reach out to you if they want to ask you questions?
Um, Instagram is the best place. I always am messaging with people on Instagram and I try to get back to everyone that messages me. So at Lauren Elaine Show on Instagram.
All right. Well, thanks for doing this, and we'll do it again next week, Lauren.
Yeah, see you next
All
week.
right. Thanks. Bye.